Hey everyone, this is Ranger14 doing tips and advice top lane part 2. This is a shorter video. I'm wrapping up top lane. I'm going to wrap up jungle later this week, and then we're going to move on to the next series, which is items, champions, why you buy them, what you do, how you use them, the advantages, why you don't do this, why you do this. Anyway, so let's wrap up the top and let's get going. Alright guys, tip number 1, wards. Always about the wards. If you look at purple, they have a ward here giving side of blue and a ward here giving side of the ramp. This gives them complete lockdown of the top. If our jungler does something, they know about it. If you look at where my ward's placed, it should be at the tri-bush because I have a ward here, which will completely lock down top for our side. Remember that. Tip number 2, zoning farmers. There's a lot of farming champions in this game. Irelia, Cho'Gath, Nasus, the ones that want to get as much money as possible so late game they can steamroll. Your job is to make sure they don't get that free farm. Zone them out. They're generally weaker early game, and you can usually muscle them out of lane. So continue to harass them, don't let them farm, and just keep making them use their abilities to get the creep kills so they can't sit in lane longer. Tip number 3, choice on summoners. I'm going to go over this more next week, but I want to kind of put it out there right now. The choice of summoners is very important to the champion that you play. Flash covers a short distance instantly. Ghost will get you much farther over the long term. If you plan on doing chasing and doing as much damage as possible without completely locking them down, Ghost is going to be your friend. If you do have a lockdown, Flash is probably going to be your friend. Tip number 4, when they go back, so do you. If you force them out of lane and you stay there, you're much weaker when they come back because they probably bought items, pots, wards, whatever. So if you go back, when they go back and kind of time that right, you're going to be the same strength or stronger because you did force them out of lane. So don't just stay in lane because you can. Tip number 5, taking towers. It's really important to know when to take your tower and when not to take your tower. If you take your tower too early, you might not always be able to access the farm in your lane. If you take it too late, you're not roaming and helping your team. So be aware of when you take your tower and don't just take it because you're stronger. If you are pushed to tower and there's nothing you can do about it, go past the tower and farm the creep waves before they would get to the tower. This is going to give you a chance to farm without having to worry about them hitting you and you not being able to respond because the tower will hit you. Doing this makes you incredibly vulnerable, but if you do this correctly by watching where the enemy jungler's at, where their team is at, and placing wards in their jungle, you can do this really efficiently without having to worry too much. Again, doing this makes you really vulnerable, so be aware of your surroundings. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to throw a curveball in here. This is 2 top, 1 bottom. We do this in ranks sometimes. What we're doing is we're sending our AD and support up top, and we're putting our top lane bottom. Now, the thing is, we're going to make it so their top is zoned. We're not going to let them creep. Yeah, I do have a disadvantage bottom, but we're going to make it so they can't get minions as efficiently as we can. Our Draven and Taric are trying to make Vlad have the worst day of his life and force him to have to go bottom. This is going to make it so he has to run and lose all that experience in CS by going bottom. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in lane trying to be as passive in defense as I can be and just sit here and keep that experience and money. By the time they get their lanes figured out, we should already be ahead in both of those lanes, and then we're just going to pile on the pressure. This isn't new, this is just a different way of playing the standard meta. I will go into this more later. There's a lot of stipulation and rules to when you do this and why, so it's not something you can just do in every game. Thank you so much for watching, guys. This is going to wrap up tips and advice for top lane. I'm going to start a new series in 2 weeks, which is going to go over why and when you pick what champions, items, skills, summoners, runes, all that good stuff. It's going to be a more in-detailed thing, so I can give you the tools to make this game your own. I never want to see you guys copying someone else's guide. There are so many ways to play this game. Make it your own. My name is Ranger14. I will see you in the next video.